Hello, everybody. My name is Alexis, and this is my oral defense. I am from Los Angeles, California. I am 25 years old. I speak English, Spanish, and a little bit of French. I have been at SFI Chess for 2 years, and I am going to, I reflected on English and science, and I am ready for your questions.
Alexis, I'm going to start off with process questions. That's our category. First question is, how do you feel, or how did you feel successful in your presentation? Why?
I felt successful presenting for portfolios and preparing in class. So for example, in science class, we reflected on the graphic organizer and the test that I took. So I used those artifacts to use as evidence that I was practicing the skill of making arguments with evidence. And I felt successful because I had my information organized. So when I came to do my essay, it was really easy for me to put it together and to have the answer correctly.
Thank you.
I can ask the next one. And when did you feel challenged in your preparation and why?
So I felt I was most challenged, I think, with presenting in English. So English is not my first language. I'm still learning more words in English. So I think I felt nervous when I had to present, and I'm worried. I get worried that I will make a mistake, or that I will say the wrong thing, and people might laugh at me, or that I'll get embarrassed. So it's challenging, I think, to present in English. So I need to practice more with my classmates to feel prepared.
I have one question for you. What part of the project was most challenging for you? Why? And can you show your artifact to explain?
Yes, so the most challenging part of the project for me in English was the presentation. So as I said before, I get nervous when I present, and I will worry that somebody is going to laugh at me, or that I'm going to make a mistake. And so to solve this problem, I tried to make note cards to help me prepare. And I used those to help me practice with my classmates first. And then I had my classmate then tell me things that I did well and things that I could improve on, so that when I got to the presentation, that I would be ready.
What is one skill you learned from this project and why is this important?
So one skill that I learned was making arguments with evidence, especially when doing research in both English and science class. So when I first started class here at SFI, I did not really understand why we talked so much about evidence. And in science class, we practiced the skill by looking at data. So we were talking about what type of alternative energy would be best for different countries. So we were using the data to help us see. So for example, we looked at Brazil. Brazil, the best type of alternative energy for Brazil is hydroelectric energy, because they have a lot of reservoirs where they can put dams to get hydroelectric energy. So it was more so seeing that every country has different things that we can use as an alternative energy source. And so using that data helps us determine, if I live in this country, this is what I can use to stop creating so much pollution. And so I think, and same with it in my English class, when I was researching in Guatemala about poverty, I was able to get reliable resources in doing my investigation to help me see what the problem was and what the best solutions were. And I think so, in order to have a strong argument, in order to convince people of my position, it's really important to have evidence when I make these arguments, so that so that there's a way of showing that my view is an important one.
All right, Alexis, I'm going to ask you questions that is not exactly on the paper, but I want you to think about your two projects right now. Just a very fast question. What were the two classes you were presenting?
I presented in science and, ¿cómo se dice en inglés? English?
English, yes. Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask for translation. That's okay. Can you explain to me what exactly happened in your English project? Can you give me give me an example of how did you begin the project, how did you finish it? And you don't have to give me super detail, but tell me some important words you learned in English class. Just explain to me if I did not understand this project.
So in English we did human rights violation.
Very good, yeah, great.
And so we picked a country, and we found what were the problems in the country, and we tried to find information online, and then we used that information to make a presentation to find out what human rights were. ¿Cómo se dice violado?
We say violated.
Violated.
Very good.
Violated.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, which ones were violated? And then we present this information to the class to teach them about what the problem is in the country and how to fix the problem.
Good. Do you know the word to fix the problem? If there is a problem, we also have a
Solución?
Yes, exactly. Solution.
Solution.
Solution. You got it. Solution. Very good job. I'm happy you remember that word. All right. Thank you for answering that question. That was very good. Let's see. Maybe.
I also have a question for you. If you were to do this English project again, what would you do differently?
So I think for the human right violations project, I would try to find more reliable sources. So I think I was able to find a lot of information, but I did not know which sources were true or not true. So I think I need to fix this problem, I think I need to try to find information that comes from people who live in the country and who actually live there. Because I think that will help me make my argument stronger and will help me make sure that I am talking about the correct issues and the best solutions for the people there.
Thank you for sharing.
Well, it seems you've been working really hard from what you're presenting us here for your portfolios. What do you think is your greatest strength as a student?
I think my biggest strength, I think, is my biggest strength as a student, I think, is that I am very I am very hard-headed, but in a good way. That my education is very important to me. So even if I don't understand something, or even if I don't know all the words in English yet, I still keep trying and I keep asking until I understand. I go to CYC after school so that they will help me translate things that I don't understand, or will help me practice my English. And I even when I go home, if there's things that I don't understand, I make sure to ask or to try with my family, because it is very important for me to understand.
Okay, and so you have up here the challenge, so why don't you tell us your biggest challenge as well?
My biggest challenge in high school is to come to school on time. So I live in Oakland, which is very far from here, away from our school. So this means I get to school late sometimes, and I miss important information. And so to improve this, one thing that I will do is with my advisor is I will set a sleep schedule. So I will go to sleep at a certain time to make sure that I have enough rest, and that I can wake up on time with enough time to get to school on time. And this is my goal for next year.
All right. Any more questions? Well, Alexis, is there anything you want to tell us before we finish up this presentation?
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for
Thank you for
presenting.
presenting.
All right, Alexis, give us a few minutes. Me and the panel are going to talk about your grade. This is questions you have to answer outside. When we finish here, I'll call your name and you come out.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, maybe we can make this portion quick, but I'll just.
Yeah.
So I've heard words like climate change, data, energy sources, hydroelectric. For English, that seems like a couple about saying human rights, problems and solutions, sources, evidence, information, and presentation. I didn't hear words like script. I did not hear words took notes. I don't know if did you hear the word research? I don't know if I heard the word research.
Maybe.
Maybe,
It was,
right?
I don't know if he used the word, but he explained the process.
The process, okay.
Finding sources.
One thing I liked, so I see that we have the presenter feedback, so we're just gonna choose one thing. If you feel like this doesn't help you, I gave different feedback. I wrote, one thing I think you did well was not reading the slides. You know, they were looking at us while presenting. I thought that was great.
Mine was similar, that he actually memorized most of it. He didn't have note cards, but he didn't need them because he memorized his answers.
Yeah, they remembered all of it. And then one thing I felt like they can improve is to remember key words. So to pronounce it better. So I remember they were saying how to say, what was it? Solution or presentation, right? I needed to translate those words, but those words are important that they need to practice that at home before the presentation. So that's my recommendation, to remember key words in English. Yeah, and that's my feedback. I'm gonna finish up here.
I think one thing he did really well is he tried to connecting to what he learned and how he can improve it.
Right.
In school, like for example, he mentioned about going to CYC after school to improve his project.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. And I have everything 4 except for English language. I put 3.5 just because I had to help a few times, but 3.5 is very, very good. I just feel like if it wasn't the important words, they would have a 4. But because it was the very important words for the class to translate, 3.5 I think is good. So I have 4, 4, 3.5, 4, 4. That's how I feel.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah?
I would agree 100%.
Right.
But because he didn't use no card, but he memorized it, so we still give him the full point.
For which one? For
For the
the
second one, preparation.
Yeah, I mean they didn't even need no cards. The level was so high. Yeah, the level of communication was so high that no cards would be great if they needed it. But I feel like they didn't, so it was they were very, very prepared. So I'd give it a 4. So
One thing
Yeah.
that they didn't have actually, now that I'm thinking about it, is evidence from the projects. Maybe that's, I'm trying to think, did we ask a question that would have
That-
required that?
maybe we didn't ask that. So maybe that's something we can do here too. Asking questions about evidence. That would be nice. They did bring up they felt successful with an artifact, but we didn't ask about the evidence.
Right.
So maybe that's a good point. That wouldn't hurt them, but that would affect how we think. So maybe that's something we can change is asking about evidence.
Right.
At least that's one question asking about artifact.
Yeah, or at least like, how can you prove that you developed
Oh.
this? Yeah,
He could have maybe shown a picture of his presentation in English. or
sure.
something
You're
like
right.
that.
Yeah, that could have been something different.
Since he has the slides, that would have been a good way to show us the
Okay.
artifact.
Yeah,
For some of them, the
Okay.
ones that are about the project at least.
that's going to be the same thing for all our classes. Do we feel ready to share this with Alexis?
But I think the overall grade is still a 4.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be a 4 overall. I mean,
Okay.
great job. Alexis! All right. I'm assuming you finished your
How do you feel that you
checklist?
did?
I think I did okay. I felt very nervous. I got very nervous, and I feel like I was worried the follow-up question that I was not going to be able to answer. I forgot to make note cards to help me with my presentation, and I think that would have helped to practice more. And I got a little confused with my slides, but I think I did good at answering questions and giving examples. And asking for trying to use only English.
Very good.
Coach P, would you like to summarize the discussion we
Yeah,
had?
so we talked about your grade. I'll go ahead and tell you each section and how you did, but remember, you did a great job. So we talked about how you did not need note cards because your memorization was so strong. We were happy to see you not read the slides, and that's a very difficult skill. For professional speaking, a 4. You did, and remember, 4 is maximum, and you got a 4 there. Your body language was good. Your chest was up. You were focused. You were looking at us. Eye contact. Great job. For preparation, you knew where to go. Your slides were ready, and when we had a question, you had an answer. Is the answer perfect? Maybe not always, but you had an answer ready. That means you were ready, and so that's a 4 for your presentation or your preparation. The English language, we put 3.5, which is still a very good grade. The only reason it's not a 4 is because you were forgetting to remember the important vocabulary in English. So for your English class, you were asking me to translate the word solution and presentation. These 2 words you need to remember in English. If you wanted me to translate how to say the word how, that's okay. Sometimes we forget the little words, but we have to remember that these words that are in our classes, you have to remember. But everything else, your voice, the pronunciation, very strong. So you get 3.5. Okay? Academic language, did you use important words? This is what we're talking about? Absolutely. You said climate change, data, energy sources, hydroelectric, which is a difficult word to say, and you said it. You said human rights violation, which is the big idea for English. You said script, you take notes. You said a lot of important words. And so for that reason, you get a 4 for academic language, okay? And then the last one, questions and answers. I'm gonna make this very simple. Every time we had a question, you had an answer. And you added some extra details. If you didn't add extra details, you would get a 3. But because you put so much information into your answer, you didn't read your answers, you get a 4. So your presentation grade, of 4. So congratulations, you did a great job.